Hey there, this is Marlon from marlonmcpherson.com, where I help you get the most out of your online business by helping you with strategy for your website and your marketing. Today, I'm doing a video review of a website, and what I'm trying to do is help to give some feedback from an outside perspective to website owners so they can actually improve their conversions as well as improve user experience. So today, the website I'm going to be reviewing is williamfountain.co.uk, which is an upholstery company. And before I jump into the review, I just want to let you know that if you are interested in getting one of these reviews done for your website for free, you can head over to my website, which is the page is at marlonmcpherson.com/website review. I'm trying to do a few of these for free each month, so you can actually request a review there, and hopefully I'll be reviewing your website next. So again, I'll be looking at the goal here of giving feedback around conversions and user experience. And some of the things that I am going to be looking at throughout these reviews are things like the overall presentation of the site. I'm going to be looking at the content, whether or not the site has enough content on there. I'm going to be looking at things to do with the conversions. Is it set up for conversion? Does it have, good call to actions that are clear and obvious? And does it have a way to generate leads, essentially? And I'm going to also look at the overall user experience. Is the site easy to use? Is there anything that is getting in the way of using the site? Also, am I able to find what I want? Am I able to navigate around the site quite easily? And if there's any errors or anything like that, I'll also point those out. So hopefully this is going to be super valuable to you. And before wasting too much time, I'm going to jump straight into the review. So I have my handy little list here of the things that I'll be going through. It's on my screen in the background here, but I also have it on my iPad. So I'll just extend out this screen so you can see what's going on. So straight away, I'm going to be looking at maybe a few pages of the site and just scrutinizing mainly the home page. So right away on the page here, I can see that the site is nice and presented well. It looks good from an aesthetic point of view. I'm not going to focus on visual design. If there's nothing dramatically bad about the design, it's not the primary reason why you should be focused on your website. It's more about the conversions. So this is what I'll be looking at. Obviously, if I see any design issues that could be addressed, I'll point those out as well. But from at first glance here, I can see that everything looks nicely presented here on the homepage. Now, one of the things that I'm looking for when I look at a website, when I go to the site, I want to see if I can understand what this site is about off the bat. I want to know what the site is about. Obviously, I've told you it's an upholstery website, but one of the issues that I've seen straight away is that the site doesn't necessarily immediately tell you what it is or what it does. Obviously, they have it in the logo here, which is great. It says William Fountain Upholstery and Curtains. And I can kind of guess by looking at the menu items here as well what it is to do with. And I can see that there's some images of sofas and things here in this image slider right here on the hero section. However, what's missing here is that main headline, which is supposed to be here as a primary message or a messaging to indicate to the target customers who it is that they're trying to serve, as well as what the site is about. What's the value prop? What is it that you're actually delivering in terms of value that makes you different, and why I should pay attention to you? So I'm looking at this from the perspective of a normal visitor, but I'll also keep on my professional hat, if you will. I've got many websites that I manage. I've built many websites, and I kind of think that I know a thing or two. I would like to think that I know a thing or two to be able to pass on some valuable tips here. And I can tell you that this area on your site, being high up on the page, on the home page, is the prime real estate. Here is referred to as the hero section. I guess because it's like a billboard area. So if you're driving down a motorway and you see a billboard, a lot of people will be seeing that billboard, right? So that's prime real estate for you to put your primary messaging and what you want people to know. But guess what? What I'm seeing here is something to do with the pandemic. And I get that you want to communicate that you're operating within safe, with safe processes to protect the public if you're still doing business throughout this weird time that we're in. I get that that message is important, but it does not need to take over your entire hero section. In fact, what a better thing to do would be is to put it in a little strip here at the top, where if someone wants to link through to read the actual details, then they can link through to a separate dedicated page for that. So that's what I would do. So I think there's a missed opportunity here. So there's nothing about what the company does really prominently displayed here, where most people would be looking, because it's a hierarchy thing. Of course, it's in the logo, and maybe you can guess from the menu and the images. However, the main thing that people will be focused on is this central area here, and so on, right? So is the target audience clearly communicated? Is the target customer clearly communicated? I would say not really, because again, there's missing information here. Now I'm going to scroll down a bit and look, here we have a headline: quality products and great service from the experts in upholstery and window coverings, right? Now this should be up here. This is what I would want to see in this hero section here. And then maybe have a call to action that is going to tell me what to do next. This is the thing that I would say that needs to be moved up. In terms of the content, they do have a fair bit of content on the homepage here. If you scroll down, you can see that they have their services, or the things that they offer, sort of like along this section in a grid. And I actually mistook this the first time I looked at it. I thought it was a blog section where they have a list of their blog posts, or an archive of the recent blog posts. But in fact, these take you through, if I just click on one of these here, these take you through to an actual page that explains what they do in each category. This is personal opinion, by the way, but I don't think that the way that's displayed there is great, but nonetheless they have the information there. And you come to the page here, you can see like a little bullet pointed list, a couple of bullet points about the why and the what they do. And I can see a few images here, obviously, of their work. I'm presuming that this is their work. I'm assuming that this is their work. And then you have some more information down here in detail about what they do. Now, if obviously someone's looking to do this stuff, they would read through this information and so on and get a lot out of it. What would be a bit more intuitive is to actually have maybe a video on here explaining your process and all of these things, and to help people to understand a bit more about why they should be doing business with you, because they can get to see how you work and the level of quality and the level of attention to detail and all of these things. So having a video here, it could be a video for each category of things that you do, or it could be just an overall video, in which case it could be on the homepage as well. So that's what I would say to that there. If I just come back to the homepage here, I do have a few more things I need to run through. So in terms of content, yes, they have a good amount of content, I would say. One comment that I have here, because I filled out some comments on my sheet here, is that they could, I mentioned the videos already. So what you could do as a video is create a behind the scenes video. And that just gives you an insight into one, it shows some authority. It shows that you're real people as well. So it builds that human connection there, because people do business with people and not with other businesses. We're not looking to connect with a corporate entity. We're looking to connect with another individual as it pertains to business, whether that's your team. You should be showing how you work, or if you're an individual running the business, it's great to actually present who you are, and to show people that, they can do business with you and you're approachable, that sort of thing. Now let's talk about conversions. This is really, really important. In terms of conversions, one of the things that I need to check for is a clear call to action. And let's come back to the top of this page again. Now, looking at this page, I would say there isn't a clear call to action as far as website call to actions go, because again, this message, the key message here is missing. The headline is missing. And I don't have like an indication down here. Normally you'd have a message and a button to say, do this next, right? There are people that are going to just be coming to the website, they're ready to go, and they want to book you and they want to do whatever it is that you want them to do. So you need to have maybe a button here that says get quote. I think that's the primary thing, the goal that you want. The goal for the site is to have people get a quote first, and then you can engage with them that way and close the sale. Because this is not an e-commerce site. I can't see anywhere where you actually do transactions on the site. Now, I know that there's two phone numbers here, right? One for London, one for Essex. In fact, this is very prominent in the top section of the site. And maybe you want people to phone you, but really and truly, on your website, you want people to have a way to communicate with you outside of the telephone scenario anytime they want to communicate with you. And the typical way to do this is to have them fill out a contact form or submit some kind of request, which would be typically a form request anyway. Some people have like a chat system or whatever the case might be. So that means it feels like you're open 24/7s, even though you're not, because with a telephone line, you're not going to be manning the phones 24/7s, right? And that's kind of like, it can be sometimes a bit of a hassle. If you don't have someone manning the phones even during business hours, you want to promote your contact form and promote the fact that you want people to get a quote by filling in some details. Now, I don't know what the goal of the site is. Like I said, I wasn't in the room with the strategy when it was being done. So maybe they really want people to phone, and that's the way they run their processes rather than them sending a contact form message. And that's okay if that's the thing, but at least have a primary bold call to action here. Normally people expect to see a button on what to do next. So down here at the bottom of the page, I realize that they do have the thing that they want people to do down here, which is to arrange a free quote or a home visit. And then there's the telephone number, right? So actually, again, it's not a contact form. They really want people to phone. So I would have a button up here, ideally, that just links them. Well, I would have the statement here, do this next. And maybe the button would link to the telephone number, or have the telephone number down here, and maybe have these a little bit more small. Again, this is just my subjective way of looking at it, but I'm also looking at it from the point of view of conversions. When people hit the page, a lot of people have the attention span of a goldfish, right? So they're not really going to sit on your site for a long time. So you need to hook them at the start and present the things that are important first. The next thing I want to look for here, or I've looked for and I can't see, is an opt-in. So essentially, you don't have a way at the moment for people to join your email list. And this is really something that's important. If you're doing marketing and doing a lot of things externally to build up your exposure and so on, maybe you're doing social media marketing, maybe you're doing YouTube, maybe you're doing something else. I'm not sure what the strategy is for this site. Maybe they're not doing any kind of marketing. Maybe they're just relying on word of mouth. But if you're doing some sort of marketing, you want to make sure you get a good return on your investment, and you have a way to follow up with your leads. Now, if someone comes to the site and they don't phone you and they don't send you a contact form message, maybe they're not at that point where they want to request a quote just yet, but maybe they want to find out a little bit more. I'm sure there's a contact form at the bottom as well. But one of the great ways, or the best ways to actually capture leads, is to actually have an opt-in, which is where they put in their email to request something, or even if it's just to join your newsletter. If you have a regular newsletter, you can have that there to say, okay, you can register to join our newsletter, where we give you tips on how to look after your furniture, or how to, whatever it is that helps to solve a problem that they have within the scenario of their upholstery, or within the situation of maybe looking after their curtains. Whatever the case may be, you could deliver them a lead magnet, which is maybe like a checklist or a guide, a PDF download, where they could have like the 10 things that you could do to extend the life of your couch or extend the life of your whatever. What this does is two things. It establishes your authority, because it shows that you know what you're talking about and you're giving them actual tips that's helping them. And two, it shows that you actually have their best interest at heart. And if they're going to do business with anyone, you're going to be top of mind when they next think of that couch that needs to be reupholstered, or the curtains that need changing. If you keep in touch with them, this is one of the best ways to build up trust, to build up just that reciprocity, where if you're giving away a lot of free value in terms of content, in terms of maybe some tips and tricks, and in terms of resources that they can use that's helping them in their lives, guess what? When they're ready to spend money because they have an issue, they're not going to be thinking about anyone else but you, because you've always been there at the top of mind because you're communicating with them. So it's highly important. Email marketing is one of the best conversions. So you should be growing your email list, because when social media platforms change their terms and conditions and the way they operate, and they close down accounts and things like that, you always have your email list. Let me not belabor the point and just run through a couple more things in here. I do have quite a few things on my checklist that I go through, but I don't want this video to be too long, so I will just go straight to this is important actually. Social proof. Social proof is having things like reviews and testimonials, or even some case studies on the site as well, to show that, okay, these are some projects that I've worked on, or we've worked on, and this is the problem that we solved. This is how it came into us, and before and afters and things like that. This is something that is basically doing the selling for you, because people are not necessarily going to be convinced by just what you say about your service or what you say about your products. So one of the best ways to get them to trust you is to have past clients or past customers share their experience, whether that's in a video testimonial or whether that's like writing a review. If you're on a review platform like Google Reviews or Trustpilot or something like that, it's a great way to show social proof by actually presenting or showing that on your website, especially on your homepage and on your landing pages where you have your individual services. So that's something you could look into adding to the site. Now let's move on to the user experience aspect of it. And user experience is all about whether or not the site is easy to navigate. Is there anything that would make the process of using the site easier? And I've got a couple of things there, a few things actually. So is the site intuitive and easy to use? I would say yes to an extent, but there's something here that I noticed where the menu could do with a bit more consolidation. Typically, you don't want to have too many things. You don't want to have more than, say, about 6 to 7 items at the top level on your navigation menu. So here we've got 3, 6, 9 individual things. There are some groups here. Obviously, that breaks it down, or that makes it more consolidated. But I think some things could be removed from here and consolidated even more. So, for example, do we really need curtains and blinds as a separate thing? Or do we need to have like other services, or just have windows? Let's have one that says windows that groups these two together, because windows and blinds typically go on windows. Fabric range. Now, one thing I would probably do is move this, take this page out of the menu completely, have it there on the site, but link to it from individual service pages. So when someone's looking at reupholstering or loose covers or whatever, you always have that link to the fabric range. So then it's just going to be connected with that service, as opposed to them coming here to look at fabric ranges. If it is that this page is really important, then I guess maybe that's why you have it there. But I would look at the traffic that goes to this page. You can do this by checking analytics software. If you have like Google Analytics connected, you can see if people are actually going to this page and spending time on this page versus the other pages. And if they're not really visiting this page, it's more reason for you not to have it there. And that's how you could basically reduce the menu here down. Because the more things you overwhelm your visitor with, the more confusing it can get in their heads, and people will just leave the site, or they bounce off and they feel like, they can't get to what they want. So that's something to bear in mind. Can I easily find what I want? I think so, because it's really categorized here by the different things. So you've done a good job of categorizing them here. And you obviously do have a lot of different things that you're offering, but you could still have one landing page also that you list out all the services and products, or all the things that you offer. And that could be another way to reduce down the menu here, so you don't necessarily have everything listed out. I presume that this maybe you've done some SEO on here, or you're doing some active SEO. So having content that is categorized and that is addressing specific keywords or search terms, maybe that's why you have it like this. I'm not too sure, and that's understandable if that's the case. And that's always a balance between user experience and actually trying to please the machine of Google or search engines. Now, is the site too slow? Is it slow to load or anything like that? Now, I did find some issues where I was loading this and it seemed a little bit slow. In fact, I tried to load the homepage in here in Firefox. This is where I was initially going to do the review. And I find that it's not loading properly. I'm going to try it one more time whilst we're on this video to see if it's a fluke. So I'm going to leave that to load, just exit from that one there. And I'm going to copy, let's just say open link in a new tab here, which is the blinds window. Okay, this time around, are we loading or are we not loading? So this is the home page and it's still not loaded. The blinds one loaded. So to me, there's an issue going on, because before you saw that there was a spinning wheel. And that's been there for like at least 10 minutes because I've been taking my notes whilst I was actually going through the site, and I left it loading. So you can see clearly there's an issue with Firefox. Let's see about Firefox. This version of Firefox, it says, yeah, up to date. So it's 92.0. So yeah, it's on the latest version of Firefox. So this could be a browser compatibility. Maybe there's something behind the scenes in the home screen, or sorry, in the homepage that is preventing or conflicting with something to do with Firefox. But obviously it loads fine in Chrome. So this is me in a Chrome incognito window. And that's about that. So maybe that's something you need to look into. Are there any errors or anything else? Yes, let's go back to loading times actually. This is the next thing I almost forgot. So I did do like a speed test in GT metrics. Now you have to take these speed tests with a grain of salt because they can fluctuate and they don't necessarily always give you accurate real life experiences, equivalent of accurate real life experiences. They just give you the best examples of how they see it based on the different things that they look at. So now I ran this test first, and you can see it's not really scoring that great. It's scoring an F, and it's showing me here that the time it takes to load pretty much is about 15 seconds. You can see it down here. It says here fully loaded time is about 15 seconds. This doesn't necessarily mean that you don't see anything on the screen for 15 seconds. You might be able to see the information and actually still use the site before it fully loads, but it is pretty slow from the perspective of that. And you can see that some of the things that it highlights here are to do with server response time and some other things. I'm not the most technical when it comes to these things, but I understand that the main things normally that prevent your site from loading quickly are going to be, one, if you have images that are too large, that needs to be optimized, right, for the site, or maybe you've got too many images on that page. But typically it's when you upload too many large images. I do have a video on how to optimize images before you load them on your website or upload them. I will try and link to that in the YouTube cards, or I'll put them in the description of the video. Or I'll put them in the end screen so you can actually continue watching there. So that's here is telling me the biggest thing is the images on this one. Another thing could be the hosting. Now, if you're not on good quality hosting, it's probably time to look at good quality hosting. It's not that expensive anymore to really find high quality hosting. So try and look at if your host is appropriate or upgrading your plan within your current host, so you can get better performance. It's a highly competitive space now, so we have so many more choices. And if you can get on a VPS, that would be a great option. So that's a virtual private server, which is basically meaning that you don't have to share resources with other websites on that server. That's getting a little bit more technical, but you can look into that if you're looking at slow loading times. And I did try this test a couple times, a few minutes apart, just to make sure that, you know what, there's no like variables that are causing, there's no random thing that's causing it to be slow at that point in time. But you can see it's not really different. Now, if you compare this with my site here, my main site, it's pretty decently optimized. I'm on good hosting. I use VPS hosting, and I have various accounts that I use for my business and like client sites and so on. And I do optimize my images and try to optimize like not to put too many things on my page. And you can see my site is pretty, you know, fairly decent looking and so on. It doesn't need a ton of images. I've got 2 images on this page in this case, but they are highly optimized. Are there any further errors? I mentioned the Firefox thing and the loading issue with that. Let's touch on one last thing, the slider here. I know that like sliders were popular maybe about 10 years ago, maybe a few years ago, however long it was a super popular thing for every website to have a slider because it was like just flashy and it looked nice and people just thought it was cool to have a slider. But nowadays with how user experience goes and how Google and just user experience experts look at how sites should be designed, and just from testing real users on sites, sliders tend to be a negative these days. So if I can avoid using a slider, I actually don't put any sliders on any of my sites, and I try to get clients not to do that simply because it's disruptive, especially when the slider is automatically scrolling through. It can be disruptive because if someone's looking at this bit of information now and then it's suddenly changed before they have a chance to really digest what they're looking at, it can break their concentration and their attention. And remember what I said about attention spans, they're really, really narrow. So you have to remove anything that can distract or detract from the message that you're trying to present, as well as the call to action that you're trying to get them to take. Another thing is that sliders can reduce your conversions. So again, it's to do with the same thing that I just said. If people are going from one thing to the next, they don't have enough time to really make that processing decision in their head sometimes before it moves to the next slide. Sometimes you can pause them, I know, but it's getting them, it's taking away the control from them, and it's actually having them do something extra to pause it or whatever the case might be to concentrate on that message. So if you just look up why sliders are not really a great thing to use in today's websites, then just Google it. There's information out there that explains that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link up the next video for you to watch. Hopefully I have another review, or I'll have another relevant video on the end screen here that you can click, and also check the YouTube cards. So I'll see you in the next video. I hope this has been helpful.